time I think about that day and me trying to stand, it's like I relive it in my head all over again. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be telling you the story of how I tried to stand after 3 years. Now I feel like this story will not be complete if I do not tell you the background story. So yeah, if you have popcorn anywhere around you, grab it, sit down, cross your legs, and let's start this story time. So here's the thing, I stopped standing sometime in, yeah, and before then what I used to do was when I finished taking my bath, I'll walk out with the crutches to the parlor, stand by the freezer. We had a very big deep freezer in the parlor then, so I'll go lean on it and stand there for like say 30 minutes to 1 hour, depending on how I feel. Anyways, yeah, that's about the only time I really get to stand, and that was like some kind of exercise for me, given that I didn't used to walk around the house and everything. So after that standing, I'll go sit on the chair or on the floor, you know. So sometime in 2016 December, I started noticing some stuffs coming out on my toes, and I first noticed something like this on my fingers in say 2008. So what used to happen is when I bust these small boils, it's usually just filled with fluid, yeah, and then I bust it and it just goes out. People used to tell me it was my fingers or my toes shedding old skin, and apparently that was what it looked like, because the dead scales would fall off, and you know, it would be like I got new fingers. They'll be like baby fingers and all. Once in a while it used to happen to my toes as well. So when this one came up, you know, I'm like, oh yeah, it's one of those skin shedding, you know, experiences. This is definitely going to go after a while, like the rest always do. But then it didn't go. Yeah, it stayed till the next year. So something actually led to this one staying longer than usual. The summary of what happened was that someone was trying to get me to stand forcefully. Yeah, and my toes, you know, kept on hitting the ground and the wheelchair footrests. So my toes kept on hitting on it, and I just felt pain at that moment. And then at some point I'm like, guy, I need to sit down. And then I sat down. I didn't notice anything unusual about my toes, you know. I got home that day, everything was fine, you know. But then, according to the doctors, people who suffer from the condition that I live with, they usually have a loss of sensation in the legs. So I didn't notice anything. And then this pain had been there ever since that incident, but I didn't know because I couldn't really feel the pain. In fact, when the things came out with full force, I didn't know until I looked, and I'm like, oh, something's coming out of my toes, some fluid, blood, you know, something like that. Yeah, that was when I realized that, oh, something was actually going on with my toes and I needed to get them checked out. I had some nurses give me drugs and all. You know, some doctors said it was bacterial infection. It had stayed for a long while. I had taken different kind of antibiotics, rubbed different kinds of ointments on it, and you know, it didn't seem like anything was working. When it seemed like it was healing and I was beginning to get excited, it would just start all over again. And that made me give up. Like, honestly, I got so tired of you know, the back and forth. So every now and then I would just abandon it until some new person comes and says, hey, what's going on with your toes? You know, that's how it used to be. At that time, I found out that to walk from the freezer to the chair where I usually sat in the parlor, it became difficult because when I lift my foot, yeah, the instead of me to walk like this, my my toes end up hitting the ground as I'm walking. So it was so painful. I told myself that, okay, this is it. I'm gonna have to stop this standing exercise and all. And so I did stop the standing, and wasn't really healthy. And then about a year later, we moved houses. Yeah. So now, ever since we moved houses, I hadn't, like made a new dress. I've been buying clothes from the market, having people buy stuff from me from the market, but to make a new dress, for myself, I hadn't done that since I moved houses. And so, sometime in January 2020, my sister's like, okay, I'm finally ready to help you make a dress. So we planned that one of the days when I stand, she'll take my measurements. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we can do that. And she's like, you have to stand straight so I can get your accurate measurements. So now, the D-Day. Okay, so on this day, I already had my two sisters prepared to help me out and help me stand, and I told them, let's use the freezer in this house now. So we got to the freezer. My mom was there by the freezer. She was wondering, where you going? And I'm like, okay, mom, we're gonna need your help. And then she's like, okay, what do I do? What do you need me to do? And I'm like, okay, just come this way, hold me. The other person will hold me here. They're doing it, and I'm like, yo, guys, this is not working. I can't stand. I'm bending towards one side. I'm bending towards the side. The most annoying part was that my feet didn't want to stay straight on the ground. So they kept on bending this way. So it was more or less like I was standing on my ankle. And then, guys, I struggled. My younger sister is like, okay, let me come help you. Let me come take the measurements. And then she comes, takes the tape, starts measuring me all around. And at some point, I couldn't hold it anymore because I don't know if you can picture this. Just picture yourself standing on your ankle. Like, this is your leg. And instead of just stand like this, you are standing here with this part of your leg. Yeah, you're standing like this, where your leg is supposed to be like this. That's how I was standing, and I screamed, guys. I screamed so much that it confused everybody. It confused my mom and my sisters. Like, they didn't know what to do. I couldn't take it anymore. And so I told my sister, just forget all this. I'm tired. Bring the wheelchair. I need to sit down right now. Meanwhile, the wheelchair was somewhere beside me, and they brought the wheelchair. Given that I had sat down on the wheelchair, they actually thought that, oh, it's all over, but no, that's when the pain it's like they just rolled it all over. Like, I couldn't take it. I sat there, and I started crying, and my mom is like, what happened? That's how you used to stand. I'm like, mom, I haven't stood in the past 3 years, like I used to. In fact, I couldn't talk. I couldn't say all these things in that moment because damn, it was painful. Like, every time I think about that day and me trying to stand, it's like the pain. I relive it in my head all over again. It's like I feel it. That was like the most painful day of my life until I had a more painful experience that lasted for hours. This actually lasted for minutes, and it was very painful. I'm going to tell you about the painful experience that came on top to this one. Yeah, that became number one. I'm going to tell you guys about that in my next video. So when the video is out, I'll probably link it up somewhere here or here. I don't know which of the places, but somewhere up. So I'm going to link it so you guys can go watch it when it is finally out. So back to the story. By the time I had sat down, that's when my sister remembered, oh, I didn't measure your hip. And I'm like, it's a lie. Hell no. There's no way I'm doing that all over again. You're just going to look for a way to measure it without me standing. Like, bro. Damn. Like, just thinking about it now as I speak, It's like the pain is like coming back all over again in my head and in my legs. It was crazy. It was like a really crazy experience for me. All I could do was scream. I couldn't stand upright. I couldn't even fall down because people were holding me from falling. But well, in the end, I slept, and the dress is finally ready. Yeah, I'm probably gonna wear it to film my next video so that you guys will see. When I look at that dress, at least I can smile that something good came out of that day. So yeah,